Browns Steelers. There's some fun things to talk about with this game. Yeah, the Browns not playing well overall. Their defense has kind of collapsed. Kind of been a small story there. Jim Schwartz, they're 25th right now in DVOA on the season. They really miss JOK. There's poor communication. There's coverage busts. This is Russell Wilson coming off his worst game as a Steeler by a good amount, I would say. This should be the perfect matchup to maybe turn that around because this is a Browns team that's given up a lot of big plays.
The perfect matchup. If this was the Steelers of old, if you remember, they would always win the big games and then they would immediately play down to their competition.
Good point.
On a short week after they just had this battle with Baltimore and now they have the Browns and it's a division game. So it feels like there are all the makings here for this to maybe be a letdown. I'm still picking the Steelers in this game, but both of these pass rushes are really good. So I'm not sure how many points are going to be scored. I don't know how many turnovers there's going to be. TJ Watt always seems to have big games against the Browns. And Watt plays over 90% of his snaps on the left side, which puts him up against right tackle Jack Conklin. And Conklin, since he started in week 6, he's allowed 8 quick pressures, the second most among all right tackles in that span. So I can't imagine that they're going to move Watt around a lot because they don't have Alex Highsmith out there. Plus, Jameis Winston, we know what happens when he gets that pressure and when he's in bad situations, he'll just throw one up.
The Lord takes over.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's honestly, the pass rushes on both sides, I think is the most interesting part of this game.
Yeah, I am going to love seeing both defenses from this. The Steelers feel to me like just obviously much more of a complete team. So ultimately, I'm going to pick them as well. But I will say, you know how a lot of times we joke in games that are like a shootout, for example, that are like, oh, last score wins or last points win or
whoever has the ball last.
To me, this is last turnover wins or last forced turnover wins because both of these defenses are going to be active, in my opinion, or are going to do their best to be active in a variety of different ways from rush to coverage. And like I said, I think front to back, even without Alex Highsmith, the Steelers are just such a complete full-bodied team on both sides of the ball now, but I do think that this is going to be a defensive battle, and we're going to see some really cool pass rush plans, guys.
Okay.
I really think
That's exciting.
Okay, yeah, because the offensive line for the Browns has been terrible. Jedrick Wills might play in this game. They lost Dewan Jones for the season on Sunday, who had been stepping in at left tackle. They don't really have a plan right now at tackle, short or long term, and that's brutal going up against Pittsburgh. I hear your point, though, about the Steelers playing down. That was an emotional rivalry game win. This is a division matchup on the road
just
in a short
feels
week.
And vibes. That's where I'm going with that.
And, like, the Steelers secondary, to me, has been up and down. Like, Joey Porter Jr. is a very good example of it. That he was one of the reasons why they won that game against the Ravens. He was fantastic. But his bad games have been very bad. So maybe they could get it going. I thought Jameis played pretty well against the Saints, actually. I was surprised when I went back that the last couple of games, even the 2 starts ago, which felt like a little bit of a fiasco for him. I didn't think it was as bad at the tape. Maybe it's just because, I've always been a Jameis guy, and even in a game like that where you lose 35-14 against the Saints, like he had 4 or 5 throws in that game that were like incredible throws. So
he's fun.
At least entertain us.
Jameis and the Saints, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think too that this is going to be where you are correct in talking about their pass defense, and it's been up and down. When they take the ball away, they do it in spurts. They do it multiple times, either in a game or week over week. And when things are on the ground in front of them, they don't miss tackles. The Steelers have missed the least amount of tackles in the entire NFL this season, just 63. They can wrap at almost a 90% rate, wrap and bring you to the ground on first contact. So you're not going to create much against them unless it is literally over the top of them.
It does concern me a little bit that aside from George Pickens, none of the Steelers wide receivers could get open against the league's worst passing defense. Like that was really bad. You had George Pickens, who was 8 for 89, and then everybody else combined for 2 catches for 3 yards.
Yeah, we'll see if Mike Williams gets more in the mix, but they're playing Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin over him. Although he was still out there a decent amount of snaps and didn't do much. Like the the book to stop Russ is split safeties. Don't let him hit shots down the field. The Ravens did that more against him, but not even 50% of the time. He averaged 1.8 adjusted yards per attempt when they were playing in that split safety shell, which is just trying to take away the deep pass. So I know Jim Schwartz, it's not really his style, but he likes to be aggressive and try to take away the middle of the field, all this stuff like that. That wouldn't necessarily work against Russell Wilson.
Yeah, invert the plan. Just,
right.
I know it's way easier me saying it than actually doing it, but take what you normally do very, very well if you're Jim Schwartz and then simply invert it and bring as much pressure as you possibly can.
I try to check out the local coverage to see what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on? What are the streets saying?
Zach Jackson, I believe at
My
The
colleague.
Athletic, he said on his podcast he thought to keep an eye on Kevin Stefanski getting fired after this game.
Whoa.
Now, he didn't say that exactly, but he said it in a way that you knew that's what he was saying. That 6 out of the last 7 Browns coaches have been fired after a Steelers loss. Now, that's...
No.
What a stat.
Wait, really?
That seems more circumstantial, but a handful of them have been under this ownership.
Hold on. What's that stat again? I got to write that down.
6 out of 7.
Last Browns... Yeah, coaches fired after a Steelers loss.
Wow.
That's
Now,
nuts.
they do play again later in the season. Maybe that would be a more likely spot. The thing he pointed out, which I think was really well said, was literally no one knows what ownership is thinking there. No one. No one's
Well,
talking.
that's clear.
But no one knows. Like, no one's in contact with them. No one knows. And so
Are
talk,
they okay? Where are they?
to talk about what's next for the Browns in terms of their path forward, for instance, you kind of have to find out first, is Andrew Berry going to be there? The guy who put this aging, most expensive roster in NFL history together? Like, does he lose his job because of that? Because if he's not there, then like, what are we even talking about? You have to find out. Is Kevin Stefanski going to be there? He might be on the hot seat now, even though he just got a contract extension. This is what happens when things are like this ugly, 2-8, losing by 21 to Rizball.
And on the and on the other side of things,
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin and Art Smith and, this is an example, Russell Wilson, like this is an example of a team and a head coach that was not okay with status quo anymore, who has made decisions this year to push and to really kind of break through that 8-9 or 9-8 or we never have a losing season sort of meme that we've made out of this. And yeah, that's been solid, but he wants better than solid. He wants to actually take risks and make these decisions that put him, out on a limb a little bit. And I think that is where you see such a contrast between a team that is in literal quicksand right now and in its own way at every turn because of the decisions that it made. And then this Mike Tomlin team that we think about as like this steel, like sluggish behemoth, just like moving down the street.
Are you talking about Ben Roethlisberger?
No, but
Because
really,
that's
it's
how
like
I
this
picture it.
team that's just like,
Yeah.
it's 16 points, and if you score 17, you'll beat them. But good luck scoring 17. And sometimes that's true still with this group,
Yeah.
but they're not that ethos anymore. They've taken enough risks, I think, to really make themselves into this complete team that is dangerous in every phase.
Yeah, they are absolutely contenders to be the 1 seed in the AFC at this point. I know the schedule's hard, but they keep beating the good teams on their schedule to this point. So,
Unexpected.
yeah. Hayward, I think maybe is like a under the radar defensive player of the year candidate. John Ledyard, who I really like a lot, threw that out there that he thinks like he's been a better player than TJ Watt on balance. Cam Hayward has been fantastic. Keep an eye on if they use Justin Fields a little more, maybe in the red zone.
Did that last week.
They are 30th in the NFL in the red zone this year. Now, a lot of that was with Justin Fields, but his numbers were much better than Russell Wilson's, and it would make sense why Russell Wilson is he's completing 29% of his passes in the red zone, and you have this running quarterback. I wouldn't be afraid. He doesn't live in his fears like a lot of these teams. There's an alternate universe where we're doing the do-over for teams under 500 segment, and the Steelers are part of it, and we say they shouldn't have stuck with Kenny Pickett another year. I know you gave him you picked him in the first round, but you got to know when to evaluate your own roster. They didn't. They traded him to the Eagles for a bag of donuts.
That point about using Justin Fields makes so much sense, too, because of what Taysom Hill just did against the Browns last week.
Hey,
A little tape
she
out
brought it
there.
all around.
That-
She's the television professional.
Oh,
Colleen
that's a
Wolfe,
wrap.
everybody.